I'm going to ask you a question. What's the best body that's ever hit a bodybuilding stage?
Flex Wheeler.
One and only Kenneth Flex Wheeler.
Anyone who saw Flex Wheeler for the first time couldn't help but be speechless.
Flex Wheeler was one of my favorite for sure.
He was the LeBron James of bodybuilding.
He was like our nightmare.
He looks like that and he's giving only 70%. What if he did another 20 or 30%?
You can't not go up against Flex and not be afraid, you know?
A physique that was impossibly perfect. Something straight out of a dream.
Your physique is the prettiest and most complete body that ever graced the stage.
I don't think anybody will ever bring that physique back on stage.
Flex Wheeler, 275 pounds, 2% body fat. Yeah, baby!
He had it all and he was destined to become one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time.
Everybody likes him, respects him, and views him as one of the greatest bodybuilders ever.
And they always considered you one of the greatest champions of all time.
I believe in myself and only myself. This is something that I want to do, something that I want to be good at. I have a very strong desire to one day call the best bodybuilder in the world.
But what happened next, no one could have seen coming.
I wish I could just go back and tell that kid, just, man, enjoy yourself. Love yourself. You know, you deserve to be here, but I never really believed that I would make it into my 20s. So I lived like I wasn't going to make it to my 20s.
This is the story of Flex Wheeler.
Your story got to be in a movie, man. That's got to be a story for a movie. Yeah. For real.
Fresno, one of the largest cities in the state of California, also a place where many families struggled to rise above the challenges of poverty. It was here, on August 23, 1965, that Kenneth Flex Wheeler was born. From the very beginning, Kenneth's childhood was tough. He faced homelessness, hunger, suffered from a low self-esteem, and his innocence was taken long before its time.
That was rough. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a single, parent. My mom tried to do the best she could. Coming from just being poor, hungry, wearing dirty clothes, socks that smell so bad you don't take your shoes off at school. 58-year-old man, and my childhood still twists my brain. I remember, going to sleep and turning the lights on and off in my bedroom so the rats would stop running around because I could hear them. And the neighborhood was kind of rough. Fresno is a very racial charged area. Back then, police department was really racial and corrupt. There's certain areas you just don't go to. It wasn't just black gangs or Mexican gangs. We had Laotian gangs. I learned at a young age that people will take your weaknesses and use them against you. Jeez, how would you handle that?
On top of that, he struggled in school due to dyslexia, a condition that makes reading, writing, and spelling particularly difficult.
So back then, they didn't know what dyslexia was. They just thought we were stupid. I write like a 2-year-old. I literally have an immense difficult time reading and spelling. Even now, I've missed out on so many movies, so many commercials, because I'm not going to go and expose myself to letting them know that I can't read well.
These experiences left a deep scar no child should have to carry, driving young Kenny into a dark place, where he began to question if life was even worth living.
I think the most important thing is, no matter what, we just want to be accepted. Just want to walk into a room and be accepted by people and not judged. I couldn't go to sleep, and I had these dark thoughts, and I remember saying, one day I'll be able to look back and laugh at this. And that's my biggest wish, that I could go back and just tell myself, man, you're okay, kid, enjoy yourself.
This video is sponsored by
absolutely nobody.
So, if you like it, do us a favor, drop a like, leave a comment, and that's all we ask. Back to the story. Despite the chaos around him, Wheeler discovered a sense of purpose in martial arts. He trained as a kid, finding it to be his first outlet for his frustration.
I started fighting when I was really young, and I got super good. I got into martial arts, the recreational center. I went to school every day I could to train, and I loved it, and I followed what the teacher, our instructor said, and I ended up becoming pretty good at it. I don't know, I was just a quiet kid, before I got destroyed by the world and became the person that I am now.
But even with his martial arts skills, he couldn't escape bullies.
Even though I was an incredible fighter, I wouldn't fight. I still couldn't bring myself to harm anyone, because I'd be like, well, geez, what if I kick him and I break their nose? If I hit him too hard and I break their ribs? My trainer back then, who was my mentor and everything, said, you were probably 100 times better as a fighter than you ever were as a bodybuilder. I was a great fighter, but back then, there was no money to be made in martial arts.
Back then, Flex was so skinny that everyone called him Skinny Kenny, and to change that, he started lifting weights with his brother Darnell and a friend, Mike Garza, in Mike's backyard.
I actually started working out when I was 9. I was 98 pounds when I graduated.
You were a skinny kid. You don't have a massive bone structure, but you have a very interesting shape to your muscles and your body.
I was called Skinny Kenny. That was my other nickname. It was benching and curls, and that was it. And push-ups, you know what I mean? And the best means was going to a track meet or an outside event and just looking good and trying to catch girls' attention. So that was my drive then. I didn't have many magazines, so I wasn't really brought up knowing who bodybuilders were.
At just 15, with barely any knowledge in bodybuilding, Flex entered a local competition just for fun. He had no routine, no posing trunks, just a pair of burgundy underwear to step on stage.
I remember my grandmother, she goes, "You look like a greased up pig," in her beautiful way of saying, because she just didn't understand it. I was just happy to be there. I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing about bodybuilding then. I didn't know about dieting then.
And a few years later, I met up with some people and they said I had good genetics.
The bigger and older guys would be like, "Geez, you come in here and you just breathe the weight and you grow." And not looking like, is that like calling me black? What do you mean?
So I looked Jeff Lawson up and I've been training ever since, and I love it.
Around the same time, Flex already became a father to a baby girl, whom he had to raise while he was still a child, adding another layer of responsibility to his already challenging life. At just 18 years old, Flex made a decision to take his first anabolic cycle. In his book, Flex Ability, he discusses the transformation that left him feeling like a magician had waved a wand to give him the body of his dreams. He would stare at himself in the mirror, worried that those muscles were somebody else's reflection.
Do you remember your first cycle?
I do. I put on 30 pounds in like a little bit over a month. I wasn't telling anybody, I was kind of secretive about it.
We just didn't know. There was no internet. It was just based on talking to somebody else. A lot of people didn't share. Chris never talked to me about his cycle. Never. No. Wait a minute. But all respect, we just didn't discuss it.
Yeah.
We were paranoid as hell not to get it in the gym. We were paranoid about that shit.
Flex's road to glory was far from easy. He kept training and competing for years, and he began to gain some attention in 1985 when he won the Teen America title.
I got my nickname Flex Wheeler was when I was a teenager, about 14. A lot of the kids used to tease me saying I used to walk around flexing all the time. So I started using Flex Wheeler and it started getting real catchy, and I've been using it ever since. See? Shirt, Flex Wheeler, yeah, sir.
And by 1989, he claimed the NPC California Championships, and you already can see the transformation in his physique, yet he was still far from being ready to compete at the highest level.
Flex Wheeler, 23 years old, 5'11", Corey.
Look at his shape. Wow, really impressed. He looks like one of those Hulkster dolls, those little caricature muscle dolls.
The winner is about to be announced, Flex Wheeler.
And I want to thank Fitness Plus for sending me here. My wife for putting up with me. I'm just real happy, real grateful. I'm glad that God allowed me to make it down here.
Bodybuilding has always been a sport for the rich. The food, the supplements, the time, it all comes at a price. And for Flex, the price was too high. He nearly walked away from it all, choosing a more stable path instead. He put down the weights and picked up a badge, becoming a police officer in search of security.
So I was competing already, but I quit because it was just too expensive. I quit and everything like that. I found out a lot about bodybuilding as far as how expensive it was and how to diet. I did not have the means to do those things. Went into police academy and I became a police officer, and I worked for Fresno Sheriff Department. Worked in a jail. I just didn't make a lot of money. I come from nothing. I come from welfare. I was so poor that Rico and Chris would have to pay for my lunches.
However, his career as a cop was short-lived and he decided to pursue bodybuilding full-time.
When I came back after police academy and I graduated police academy is when I went back into bodybuilding.
One of the fastest growing stars of California. He's state champion, Flex Wheeler.
We're enjoying Ken Flex Wheeler from Fresno, California. Took 3 years off to go to the police academy. Good for him. He became a deputy sheriff and then quit and went back into bodybuilding.
I feel that once I can compete right around 245 that I'd be untouchable to anyone, period. I mean, I have the perfect height, I have the perfect symmetry. Now, whether I can get to that perfection or not, I am not aware. But if I do, I feel that no one can touch me along with a lot of other people. Yeah, I'm ready.
In 1991, a friend and amateur bodybuilder who had just moved from Canada took Flex along and introduced him to the legendary Joe Weider.
So this is 91?
This is 91. My very first appointment to go see Joe, I took Flex with me. I brought Chris, I brought Flex. Before we go upstairs, right, we got to go in the bathroom and pump up, right?
Because Joe always want to see the guys, yeah.
Then we went into Joe's office.
So much history happened in that building. Sit there, you meet Joe, and you hear that voice.
You know? Then he tells you, take your shirt off.
Let me see your legs. Got any legs?
His thoughts and his ideas and his vision and everything. It was around you. It was in the office. You know, all the Remington statues that he had, the bodybuilding paintings, just his voice and everything.
Say you're a Weider athlete. You know, it was something grand because not everybody made it. Not everybody got that opportunity to even communicate with Joe Weider.
I wanted to get all my guys in with Joe, you know what I mean? Because we had like a true brotherhood, right? It was just a different time. It was so much fun. Like, we admired each other. We didn't put each other down.
But Flex Wheeler's bodybuilding career wasn't the fast road to stardom that many may suspect it was. On the road of earning his pro card, he suffered two very disappointing losses. The first came in 1991 when he lost to Mike Matarazzo in the USA Championship.
It's hard to say the word amateur next to Flex Wheeler because he's been at it for such a long time for a 25-year-old.
It was very, very tough wheel. You know, Flex wheel. I mean, I think I've always thought he had an outstanding body.
Then he went on the Nationals thinking he would win. Unfortunately, that year's National turned out to be one of the greatest amateur bodybuilding shows of all time, featuring Kevin Levrone, Ronnie Coleman, Chris Cormier, and Matt Mendenhall. Kevin earned his pro card that day, leaving Flex to wait for another year for his shot.
Kevin Levrone from Glen Burnie, Maryland, is the heavyweight winner.
1991, I cried after my defeat. Sat on those steps, boo, boo, boo.
That being said, those losses only fueled his hunger for victory. He worked harder than ever, determined that the next time he will step on stage, he would leave nothing to chance.
Either you do it, or you do it.
And that's what happened in 1992 NPC USA Championships.
1992, victory, perfect score, the start of my beginning.
Flex amazed everyone, even the harshest critics. His transformation from 91 to 92 was incredible. He was so much bigger and in rock-hard condition. His side chest shot from that show was legendary, and his hamstring stretched all the way up from the side knee, showcasing the kind of detail and striations that made everyone take notice.
And what a physique Flex Wheeler presented in 1992. It was a beautiful physique. It's what most people would aspire for their physiques to look like. It was aesthetic. It wasn't too big, but he had the size.
It was one of the best national level amateur builds to ever take stage, winning both on heavyweight and overall titles and earning his pro card at 27 years old, making this the start of his rookie year.
He waited a little longer than he had hoped, but it's over. Flex Wheeler.
This is something that I want to do, something that I want to be good at. So that's all that I need, and it's just drive behind it.
After getting his pro card, Flex launched the best IFBB pro debut in the history of the sport of bodybuilding.
1993 was the best career that I ever had, you know.
You came in and you looked at some of the pictures, Flex. It doesn't even make sense what you look like.
At the 93 Ironman, he took out an amazing Lee Labrada, a peak conditioned Vince Taylor, and the new genetic freak Paul Dillett, and people were beginning to realize this was no ordinary athlete. Only 1 week later came Arnold Classic, where Flex presented the world with what has gone down in history as one of the greatest physiques to ever grace stage, arguably the most aesthetic physique in history.
1993 Flex Wheeler on the Arnold Classic stage.
In my opinion, one of the best bodybuilders that the sport has ever seen.
A physique that I don't think anybody will ever bring that physique back on stage.
That's a lot of people refer to that as the best physique in bodybuilding history.
He looked sensational in every angle, rock hard everywhere. His back, legs, delts, tight waist, massive arms, everything was perfect.
This doesn't make any sense to me. This looks like a statue.
The separation between his individual triceps heads alone is insane. You virtually never see this level of detail nowadays.
And even California's new governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was blown away, saying he's one of the best bodybuilders of all time.
Look at the split he's doing right now. I mean, I don't think that I've ever seen in the history of bodybuilding anyone be so flexible that he can do this particular pose here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1993 Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic champion, Flex Wheeler.
Flex Wheeler,
2 competitions in 2 weeks and 2 championships.
My pro debut, I won the Ironman and then the Arnold. Ironman was 10 grand and the Arnold was, I think, 80 back then. So that's $90,000 in 1 week. That's more than I made in my entire life.
Not only that, Flex went on to win the German and the French Grand Prix. And then, for the first time, he was ready to win the most prestigious show in bodybuilding, the Mr. Olympia. But first, he had to go through one man, and his name was Dorian Yates.
If anyone thinks that they're going to be the number one, for all time, it's just not true.
The 1993 Olympia was one of the best shows ever, featuring top competitors like Shawn Ray, Paul Dillett, Kevin, Lee Labrada, and Dorian Yates, and just look how amazing they all looked. Flex brought the perfect package to the stage, with the right size, symmetry, and conditioning like no one has ever seen before.
And Flex Wheeler, at his first Olympia ever, was able to go toe-to-toe with Dorian Yates, the era of the mass monster.
They call me the first mass monster, but it's not a phase I really like because I didn't want to be a monster. I wanted to be in condition as well. I wanted to be proportions.
Everyone who was there that day said that not only Flex was in his best condition of his career, but it was the best conditioning anyone has ever seen before.
Probably Flex had more natural talent than me. Shit, he looks like that and he's giving only 70%. What if he did another 20, 30%?
My first time competing against Dorian, I remember thinking, geez, I can feel this guy's presence next to me.
Dorian Yates was undoubtedly a freak, but his criticized midsection was the contrast to Wheeler's strong point.
His conditioning was incredible. His shape was incredible. His structure incredible. His aesthetics incredible. His lines, proportion, and symmetry incredible.
Now, the decision was in the hands of the judges. Would aesthetics win, or would it be size and mass?
Would his 100 have beaten you? Very possibly.
I didn't think I was going to win or anything like that.
I knew that mentally that he wouldn't do that.
I'm not a liar to myself. I just can't do it.
Flex Wheeler.
While many believed he deserved to win that year, Flex was more than happy. That shy, poor boy from the ghetto who didn't always fit in was now the talk of the bodybuilding world.
He took second at the very first Olympia he ever competed at. Let's just pause for a second and appreciate how impressive that is.
Flex Wheeler, for me, 93, could arguably beat Dorian, and if he did, the whole sport would be different because his conditioning was on. Yes. Dorian came out of nowhere looking different, and they didn't know what to do, and then they gave it to him.
After the show was the first and only time I met the great Serge Olivier. He goes, "You won that show." But I'm like, I'm just happy to be there. Did you notice I got second? 4 pro shows. I ranked number 2 in the world. Just kid from ghetto.
Please welcome the number 2 bodybuilder in the world, Flex Wheeler. Flex!
So I'm like, and I'm hot. Who can touch me?
But the success for Kenny was a double-edged sword. The persona of Flex Wheeler was starting to take over.
That's where this Flex Wheeler character came to play. I'm aware that I created this alter ego, not knowing it. This Flex Wheeler guy, when I got bigger and stronger.
I mean, I said if he had my brain, it would be dangerous. Like, if he did what I did, if he had my brain, my approach, my dedication, I have a real hard time beating him.
The 1994 Olympia arrived, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity for Flex to win the title, as Dorian Yates came in the version that many remember because of his injured arm. But for Flex, the Olympia was the last thing in his mind. He was fighting a battle between life and death.
I never really believed that I would make it into my 20s. So I lived like I wasn't going to make it to my 20s.
These are the images of the Mercedes Flex Wheeler was driving in August 1994 after a night out with the rapper Dr. Dre.
I met, Dr. Dre, and we became good friends, and I was coming from playing pool with them at about 2:30 in the morning. On my way home, the front tire went out, the car spun around backwards. My whole life basically flashed in front of me.
The crash fractured his neck in 2 places, leaving him in the hospital where doctors fought desperately to save his life.
I suffered a broken neck in 2 different places.
My eye was swollen out my head, my ear was ripped off.
For an entire month, all I could do was just land and stare at the ceiling and wondered, geez, it's over for me.
Not only did this eliminate his chances of beating Dorian Yates, but it also cost Flex his sponsorship deals.
You had to feel on top of the world.
And then just bottomed out.
While I was in the hospital, they fired me. I ended up losing my house. I ended up losing my car because I had no means of making money anymore for myself.
I was pretty much ahead of the game going into the Olympia, so I'd be able to make it until 3 days later when a doctor finally said forget about it. I thought that I'd be able to go and compete.
And while his rivals continued to compete, he was left in the audience grappling with personal issues far beyond the sport.
That was probably one of the worst things I could ever have done. All those guys were on stage and I'm like, God, can I even compete with these guys? That's where I remember Paul changed his size game. Nasser changed his size game. That I'm like, it's over. How am I going to catch back up to these guys now? Where I need to accomplish and prove something to myself.
This challenge would be the first of many battles Flex would have to fight his way back from. Against the advice of his doctors, Flex returned to the gym, and within just few months, he was already regaining his physique.
Transformation that this guy can do, it's like one of those that pisses you off because you cannot explain. He takes a 20-pound dumbbell, you know, within 20 minutes, and just transforming in front of your eyes.
Craziest genetics ever.
In 1995, he made his comeback on stage, winning both the Night of the Champions and the Iron Pro, delivering a beautiful aesthetic physique.
And how many people can say that they can break their neck in 2 different places and, you know, and come back the next few months and do that well, prove to myself that I can still do this.
Then he went to defend his Arnold Classic title, but in a controversial decision, Mike Francois took the win that day, leaving Flex in a second place.
Right, coming back from an auto accident, Flex Wheeler, or the hometown kid right there, Mike Francois. And that is Flex Wheeler.
The next year, however, Flex was determined to regain his Arnold Classic title.
All right, then we have Flex Wheeler here.
You were the best Arnold's Classic winner. The best.
Yet he lost once again, this time to Kevin Levrone, who was also making a comeback after a pec tear.
Flex Wheeler, so Kevin Levrone.
Probably Kevin is the most dominant force who had a pec tear, who came back and done as well.
Could not even see it.
This runner-up was controversial, as many felt that Flex was better that day.
He was upset about that show.
Both he and Kevin took that personal. Both were hungry. Both had something to prove. And from that moment on, the rivalry was set in stone.
But Kevin was on the other side of the lake. We would only hear about each other because there was only magazines then. He already defeated me when other people hadn't, so I'm scared of him. I hated him, man. Hated him on stage.
You know, we would give each other an effing hell of a problem on video.
You know, Kevin said something like, you know, I don't knock on doors, I knock them over. And then another video I did, I said,
Oh, and a message to Kevin Levrone, I don't knock on doors, I knock doors over.
Maybe I should train a little lighter and just be as good as Kevin Levrone or something.
Full blown.
Full blown, baby.
Full blown, baby, yeah! Turn them goddamn cameras off.
It was kind of a fun rivalry with him.
Love him as a brother, but damn, I hate him.
And I've always wondered to myself, how can a bodybuilder look like that?
And that's the name of this video.
On the other side of the rivalry, Flex had another complicated relationship with none other than Shawn Ray. The relationship was a constant battle of egos.
Shawn kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, right? He was
I kind of mentored him a little bit in the beginning, but then he took on the Flex Wheeler persona, and that's a whole nother gangster thug style.
He used to torment me in magazines and interviews and stuff like that, and
he thought that I had mental weaknesses.
The rumor was you were going to beat me up at a bodybuilding show.
I was going to knock on his door one late night, and I knew he would open it because we're friends.
I was going to close the door. I was going to
beat his
I wanted to do some things to his face that when he went out in public, people seeing him knew that I did it.
Flex, you crazy. You just got to assume that that first punch was going to knock me out, right? Because if it did, pow, pow, pow.
Okay, you be the judge. Does Flex Wheeler sound like a confident bodybuilder?
You see, Flex had the best genetics and the most impressive shape in bodybuilding.
Like he was the LeBron James of bodybuilding.
He had one of the most incredible physique, you know?
If I can change my body with somebody else, I will change it with Flex Wheeler.
I would say in terms of like unattainable things, Flex Wheeler was one of my favorite for sure.
The roundness that he had in his shoulder everywhere.
Everything was good. Everything was beauty.
He had the twisting back double bicep on his knees. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Even when he was off, he was easily placing third in every competition. He was that good.
Flex used to beat a lot of guys, and he wasn't 100% because of his shape.
He was like our nightmare.
You can't not go up against Flex and not be afraid, you know?
Probably came in about 90%, but his 90% was still better than most of the guys' 100%. And it was very, very hard to stand next to him.
Mike.
Flex Wheeler, 275 pounds, 2% body fat. Yeah! Yeah, baby!
In this time, if he was compete, he will eat everybody, beat everybody.
Who could have beat Flex that day? No one.
That was the most perfect physique I'd ever seen in my life.
But soon his arrogance kicked in, and he started showing a life of luxury. Flashy cars, big houses, a lifestyle filled with women and celebrities.
I didn't compete for trophies, I competed for money. I was so immature and had such low self-esteem, I couldn't leave the house without having at least $10,000 in my pocket. I lived like I wasn't going to be here long. I spent money and burned through everything. I always bought these exotic, crazy cars, and And I had this house in Venice that was 7 stories.
Welcome to our home. It's Shawn Ray. What's up, baby? What's side? My swimming pool and jacuzzi that they're building. Able to live. I want to enjoy my wife, my future wife, my family.
I used to be an addict for women, an addict for sex.
Do it. I'm a free man. You know, I love women. I'm not into it. You know what I'm saying?
I wanted you to see my watch or my car or whatever. Respect that. And then because I own those, maybe you'll respect me. That was me. I was just around what I thought was tough guys. I always tried to create my world as this harsh world environment. I remember back then, you know, we'd walk into a club, and if I ever did, it'd have to be at least 10 of us because I understood people are stupid. They're going to say, oh, steroids, blah, blah, blah. So you're going to have to fight. The Flex Wheeler guy didn't mind fighting, so I could switch over to him, and if you wanted to make it happen, I'm like, man, let's make it happen. I'm gonna enjoy hurting you. But that wasn't me as Kenny Wheeler. So
to the outside world, he seemed to be living the perfect life, appearing egoistic and arrogant, or at least that's what it looked like.
You put on the best game face I've ever seen in my life because you look confident, cocky. It looked to me like you knew exactly what was happening.
Flex's persona, the king of aesthetics, the untouchable superstar, was just that, a persona.
Who were you in this world?
You know, Flex was a guy who didn't take shit from nobody because I was trying to hide Kenny Wheeler, who was none of that, and I didn't want people to take advantage of me, and I didn't really take crap from anyone, and I was quick to give it back to him. I wouldn't start it, but I'd be really quick to make it happen. So
you were cocky, dude.
It was very, very hard to get close to you and back in that time. Very hard. I experienced that myself.
And then meeting some people really close to me, like, you know, there's like 6 of you, and I'm like, you mean by that? Now I see what all my buddies, you know, used to say to me, like, damn, man, you're hard to be around. You're hard to deal with.
Where are we? Venice. Why are we here? Because of me. What are we going to do now? We're going to follow me. Come on.
I can't stand myself. I can't even watch old videos of myself because I'm like, what an arrogant son of a bee.
Deep down, he was still that traumatized kid, the insecure boy from the ghetto. That ego wasn't who he truly was. It was a mask, a way to shield himself from the insecurities that had haunted him his entire life.
So you're going into the Arnold. You win in the Arnold. Arnold Schwarzenegger is giving you the trophy, and you still didn't believe you had what it takes?
No, I thought they made a mistake. So I just thought I was nothing. You know, I come from nothing. I just didn't think that much of myself.
My worst enemy was me up in here.
Going to sleep, my brain just running, saying these negative things. So shut up, you shut up. I was so effed up that I wouldn't allow myself to be happy. I was never happy, never. I'd literally tell myself, why? It's only going to come where you're going to be unhappy soon. I never walked on stage and thought I was good enough. It's hard for me to take compliments. When I walked on stage, if they called me out first in the first call out, I'd walk out there like this, but that ain't how I felt. It was an insecurity thing.
He built the Flex Wheeler's persona to survive, to thrive in a world that has been anything but kind to him.
I watched you walk into Gold's Venice, and I walked in there and I'm like, that's Flex Wheeler.
But as the fame grew, so did the pressure to maintain the act.
I just started buying more into the Flex Wheeler character. People liked him more than they liked me.
No, not a Kevin back, not a Dorian back. They got to get my back.
Dorian who? Dorian who? All right.
Georgia down here, Florida's right here.
So I just started feeding more into the monster of Flex Wheeler and Kenny Wheeler. And, you know, eventually I started believing my own lies.
And there was a trio.
There was a legendary trio at Venice Gold's gym. Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, and Rico McClinton, each fueled by their own demons. Their lives were a storm of chaos, drugs, fights, women, and money. A whirlwind that left little space for peace, tapping them in a relentless cycle of self-destruction.
We kind of formed a tight group with myself, Flex Wheeler, and Rico McClinton. We did everything together. We were like a gang. Like, you can't say shit without all three of us coming at you right now.
Rico knew who I really was. Rico was always a leader. He's always been the leader of our club. He didn't act it. He didn't have to. With his confidence, with his maturity, me and Chris would have easily tore each other apart. He threw like a 100-pound dumbbell at me one time.
How the hell does somebody throw a 100-pound dumbbell?
4 days a week, man, I was probably high. But also, I felt like I needed to escape. I wanted to escape my life.
I was close to both of them, and they would push each other, but sometimes I think you got competitive side could mess with the friendship a little bit, and that bothered me.
But Rico was just so calm. Me and Chris would get in an argument, and Rico would just stand in between. It was like, you know, you're right, you're wrong.
Yeah, and I was literally stuck in the middle, and he'd be upset. What do you think, man? I'm like, come on, man.
man.
Stories of Flex, Chris Cormier, and Paul skipping strict dieting and not pushing themselves to the limit have been told for years.
My perception was like, these guys don't work hard.
Oh, he didn't train hard. These people talking about me, Chris, Flex, we all going to see Charles. We all going, we do our thing with Charles and we done, and then we jump on the cardio. Then we come back in the evening. You're like, I don't need to lift the weights Ronnie Coleman did.
I think Flex had the best genetics in the world, but I kind of outworked him. When I went to the gym, I lift hard, I lift heavy. Flex told me he work out and go to the strip club.
So he had a dedication to women at least.
Flex came one year. We were doing bench that day. Flex did like 2 sets. Oh man, I'm done. Look at all done.
Sometimes the guys with all the natural ability, they don't have the work ethic to be the greatest because it comes so easy.
It came quite easy to him. I think sometimes when things come easy, you don't need to really look and search for that.
You need that like Jordan, almost like sociopathic approach to it.
I think so too, but I don't know if it's the path to greatness as much as the path of the psychopath, especially when it comes to competitive sports. 100%.
Yet, in 1997 it seemed like things were finally falling into place for Flex, both on stage and in personal life. In March of that year, Flex won his second Arnold Classic title, impressing even Arnold himself, who declared Flex as his favorite bodybuilder.
He was speechless. I think it was a big surprise for him to come back after the car accident, and so he's really a top guy.
And now I'm having opportunities to possibly do that again, and I'm going to do a lot of things differently now. I have a very strong desire to one day call the best bodybuilder in the world. So when I retire, then I can enjoy those benefits, but right now I'm trying to do something that very few people have ever done before.
I knew if I achieved a certain look, it would be really, really hard to beat.
Beautiful symmetry, great shape.
He's gonna be #1, no question.
Off the stage, Flex's life seemed just as golden. He got married and later welcomed 3 more children, adding to the 2 he already had, building a growing family he cherished deeply.
He also settled down with his new bride, Madeline, in a beautiful home in California's Roland Heights.
Flex Wheeler's about to turn into a different type of Flex Wheeler, a family man.
3 months before the show, you lose your husband. I miss him so much when he's getting ready for a show.
With this momentum, Flex entered the 1997 Mr. Olympia as the favorite to dethrone Dorian Yates, who was struggling with injuries and far from his best.
The guy that I thought had the most potential, as he looked so good, and I know he wasn't really given 100% all the time, was Flex Wheeler.
For many, this was Flex's golden opportunity to claim the title, but just 48 hours before the competition, everything took an unexpected turn. When the #1 contender arrived at the host hotel with his left forearm and hand bandaged, says that he will not be able to compete, claiming that 6 days prior, he had been a victim of an unsuccessful carjacking. In his own words, some violent people dressed as ninjas had injured him.
Approximately 9 days before the Olympia, I was involved in a carjacking where 2 cars pulled up, 1 car on each side of me, and I'd already decided in my head that I wasn't going to let this happen. I got out of the car, I took my keys with me, I locked the door. That pissed them off. We fought and I sustained some injuries. At first it bothered me that, they didn't believe me, but, they really should be more or less happy that I wasn't able to compete. And if you don't believe me, then bring your and you'll find out what happened.
This obviously didn't sound believable to the fans. Very few people in the bodybuilding community accepted what came to be known as the ninja story, believing Flex made it up to avoid competing while out of shape. Interestingly, Flex left this incident out of his 2003 autobiography, which only fueled skepticism. Fans were especially upset because this was the year many thought that he could have finally beaten Dorian Yates, who was in the worst shape of his career.
I would say that Flex probably maybe did 70% because he might break his diet a little bit.
Who was, as you know, when it comes to dieting, to stay strict on a diet? Was it Flex?
Oh yeah, Flex by far.
How many diets, how many contest diets did you ever complete without cheating?
No. What was this cheeseburger and french fry? Is that true?
Yeah, he would complain about the best food because he just don't like it because he wants to eat spaghetti.
I have a fast metabolism, so I'm really known for eating like cheeseburgers and hamburgers and stuff like that.
That was my regimen, because I'm going to be stuck in traffic. This is my diet, man.
Whoa. I think Flex should watch what he's eating. I mean, Flex, watch those carbs.
But now with Dorian retiring, the stage was set for a new champion to rise, and for the first time in 6 years, fans were guaranteed to witness a new Mr. Olympia. For many, there was no question who that champion would be.
Flex Wheeler. Flex Wheeler. Flex Wheeler. Flex. 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 Flex Wheeler.
Flex Wheeler.
Flex has a better package.
98 in New York, everyone thought no one's beating Flex.
If he shows up on the stage, he'll win.
It's a battle between me and 17 guys.
Flex Wheeler was the clear favorite. He had the physique, the experience, and momentum to dominate the competition. This was supposed to be his momentum. But as the bodybuilding world rallied around its presumed champion, no one could have predicted the shock that was about to unfold.
Mr. Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, everything changed that night.
Out of nowhere came a man named Ronnie Coleman, a competitor who had finished in the 9th place in the previous Olympia and was far from anyone's radar as a serious contender.
And he's posing. I'm looking at his back and I'm like, wow. They always talk about how feathered my back is. I'm like, this is more. If they recognize who this guy is, it's a wrap. I think he surprised everybody, including the world. Just a condition and a size has never been seen before, right?
Ronnie didn't win until the last pose down?
Yeah, I knew that.
Flex was leading. Even in the posing round, he was still ahead of him. Final pose down, the top 6 pose down that they judged back then, that's when Ronnie pulled ahead.
He felt his presence. I knew how good he was, but I didn't think that was going to happen.
But Ronnie, did you feel you can win that show?
Nope. I was thinking I was going to get maybe 5th or 4th somewhere in there.
And I knew I effed off that show. I knew I did. I knew I could look better.
I'm here to give the history, and the real history. I saw him on Wednesday, and it was not to be, because he cheated a lot around 2 weeks out. He gave it up 2 weeks out.
I knew I didn't put everything into it. I was really ashamed of myself when I finally got on the stage. I questioned myself. I was like, dude, why don't you believe you can be number 1?
When did you realize I think I'm doing some damage here?
When they called me for first, when we were standing there, me and Flex, I knew Flex had it for sure.
In 2nd place, Flex Wheeler.
When they called my name out, I was like, damn, they made a mistake.
And I remember watching the tape, and I saw Chris come over and say something to me. I saw Flex say something to me. To this day, I have no idea what they said.
And it was funny because he was talking about like damn, Flex, I beat you. Damn, they must think I'm good. I beat you.
Ronnie wasn't just overlooked, he was underestimated. Flex himself had mentored Ronnie in the past, teaching him about the finer details of bodybuilding. But as the saying goes, the student has become the master.
1994, Flex is winning all these shows, so I'm sitting in my room, I'm like, damn, I'm getting my ass kicked at all these shows, and Flex is winning. I need to learn some stuff from him.
You know, because Ronnie was always natural. Ronnie turned pro and competed as a pro naturally for a long time.
How you winning all these shows? What are you doing? They said, well, you gotta take, little vitamin A, and vitamin C, vitamin D. I'm like, damn, I ain't taking none of that. So I get home, and I'm calling people like, hey man, what can I get this vitamin A and all this stuff? And Flex is taking it. So we go to the next show, and Flex beat me. I'm like, what the hell? He must gave me some bad advice.
I lost to him by 3 points, and I was like, 3 points, and I'm off, and he was on.
Flex had learned his lesson. He had more wisdom, more focus, and for once, he was treating his prep with the seriousness it demanded. This was his redemption year, and he knew it. This was the best, most disciplined version of Flex Wheeler yet.
I ran from the show last year, cheated a lot, and I didn't train as hard and everything, and basically just sabotaged myself simply because I didn't believe that I could win it.
At 99, remember, that was going to be, okay, now Flex is taking over.
That's when I really, the first time ever, believed in myself that I can win. 100% I believe in myself. Like I never have believed that I'm number 1. I believe in myself and only myself.
In 1999, the Mr. Olympia competition reached its highest level, with a lineup that may have been the most stacked in history. It was a year that we saw some of the best bodybuilders to ever grace the stage. Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levrone, Chris Cormier, Shawn Ray, Nasser Sonbaty, Paul Dillett, Lee Priest, Marcos Rule, Jay Cutler, Dexter Jackson, Milos Sarcev, Mike Matarazzo, and many more.
I won last year, so why change what works?
Ronnie Coleman is still the reigning champion.
If I had to be a gambling man because we're in Las Vegas, I would have to put my money on Ronnie Coleman.
The stage was set for a showdown, and the battle for the title was as close as it had ever been.
So sit back, relax, and you're going to see the best bodybuilding contest of your life.
Flex's rematch with Ronnie was set. He came in the best shape ever, 15 pounds heavier, with a new sense of confidence that he had never felt before.
Ronnie finally get undressed and like, oh my God, you got him. So everybody's running out to me back, you got him, you got his ass. I'm like, I know I got it. I got him, right?
Felt you got it?
No. Because remember, I had been screwed so many times.
You're just getting ready for it.
Yeah, I was getting ready for it.
Despite his best efforts, the Olympia curse persisted, and Flex Wheeler found himself once again in second place, earning the nickname of the Uncrowned King of Mr. Olympia.
Second place, Flex Wheeler.
Time just slew down for me, and I was like, oh man, I worked my ass off. I did everything right. I'm not number 2. This represents number 2. I'm not number 2. I'm number 1. You're not going to make me feel like I'm number 2. I know that in my heart I'm number 1. I gave everything. I know I am. It's nothing to be angry about. It's a subjective sport.
And Joe Weider told me before he passed away, and he said, it's not that you're not good enough to win. It's not that Flex Wheeler is not good enough to win. Not that, Levrone. He said, this is a business.
And it seemed like 99 was like the final straw for you. Like,
big story is he perfect scores me. That really taught me, so this title's out of my reach.
Shortly after the Olympia, many of the same competitors from the legendary lineup gathered once more for the 1999 British Grand Prix. This event is forever etched in bodybuilding history, with fans still mesmerized by the iconic photos and videos from that night, with several athletes bringing their all-time best. You could argue Ronnie Coleman wasn't even human that night. He looked absolutely unreal, like something out of a comic book. It's no wonder he took the win, proving he's the greatest of all time.
Going through it and seeing it and living it, I think, I could take this guy out. But now you sit back and you think, wow, Dorian Yates he was ahead of us, man. He was light years ahead of us. Ronnie Coleman was light years ahead of us.
Few could have imagined it, but this was the last time you would see those legendary bodybuilders go head to head at their peak. It felt like 90s bodybuilding era was saying its final goodbye.
You know, the 90s is now considered by bodybuilding fans as one of the greatest decades of bodybuilding.
It was that era. It was magical.
The conditioning, the size, the competition, it was super intense.
There was an incredible camaraderie between us most of the time.
To this day, that was the best bodybuilders you'd ever seen in your life. Whether it's nostalgia, whether it's something else, but I look at that era, everybody was on. Every show, these guys, you guys pushed each other. There was no social media.
After this, Flex kept on competing and he was still racking up wins along the way. He added 2 more Arnold Classic titles to his name, holding the record for the most wins at that show with 4. That record stood for a while until Dexter Jackson eventually broke it later. In 2000, at just 35 years old, Flex began to feel the cracks beneath the surface. He was diagnosed with kidney disease called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, or FSGS, a rare condition that affects kidney function. While it's more common among African American males, it typically strikes later in life, but for Flex, it hit too early.
When I started trying and wanting to change, it's like when I found out that I had this kidney disease that was going to take my life, and we didn't know how long I'd be here. Most aggressive and deadliest kidney disease known to man. There's no cure to it.
It was at that moment he realized how much damage he had done to himself.
I end up causing my kidneys to fail quicker than they would have. What I was running from, I ran right into.
That moment he knew he wasn't invincible, and watching his best friend Rico changing his life overnight only made it clearer. Flex had to change, or there might not be a tomorrow.
Rico changed his lifestyle and it affected me.
Because this is my dog, man. We traveled the world together. We done everything together.
He wouldn't hang out no more. He wouldn't cuss. He wouldn't party no more.
And he changed right in front of me, like within like a year. And he wouldn't even talk to me about it because he knew how I was. I could never tell Flex this. This dude is so far off the chain. God can't help him. Nobody can help this dude.
He was too embarrassed to say he went to church, not around a derelict like me. So that really hurt me.
It wasn't about money and trophies anymore. It was about survival. And inside that struggle, he began to find the men behind the muscle. By 2002, he decided to compete naturally without the help of anabolic steroids, and the tests confirmed it, no banned substances in his system. Flex competed in a lighter weight, placed 7th, and retired from bodybuilding. A year later, in 2003, Flex's kidneys were failing and he needed a transplant to survive. Underwent the procedure, giving him a chance to live and focus on what truly mattered. Despite everything, his strength carried him through, enduring 11 painful surgeries in just 9 weeks.
For all these years, I've had over
60 surgeries in my lifetime.
11 surgeries in 9 weeks.
After retiring from bodybuilding, Flex Wheeler returned to martial arts. However, at 52, he decided to compete one last time in a newly created classic physique division at the Olympia. There he stood alongside a young Chris Bumstead who was making his debut.
Tonight we saw Flex Wheeler come back at 52 years old. What was that like seeing him up there tonight?
That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. Seeing Flex up on stage is sort of like a miracle. It's something that you never thought you'd see in a million years. Seeing Flex up there after all he's been through, oh man, and how good he looked, it was truly amazing.
I was in the hospital for a little over 2 years, 9 surgeries in 11 weeks. So I just want to show everybody, hey, listen, you don't have to give up on life and continue fighting and be in your dream. Enjoy yourself. Be a good man, be a good wife, be a good husband.
Give it up one last time for Olympia legend, Flex Wheeler.
Life continued to be painful and hard for Flex. In October 2019, he was rushed into the hospital to have an emergency surgery on his right leg due to complications from a collapsed vein. Unfortunately, when he woke up, Flex found that his right leg has been partially amputated.
When I wake up and I notice that my leg is gone.
I always used to look at people who lost a limb. And you always wonder, you kind of glance like, and you wonder, what's their story? How did that happen? Oh my God, how bad must that be? I'm that guy now. Having to put your leg on, looking down there, realizing that it's not there. Sometimes I even almost get out of bed and I'm right leg dominant and I lost my right leg. And I'll get down and I'll look down and realize that there's no leg there and I almost fall like, oh my God. Or, I'm just laying in bed. I'm like, how could something hurt so bad and never stop?
When I look at you, you inspire millions of people. You had a leg amputated and right now you're still here talking to us like, hey, it is what it is. I don't know if I could do it the way you did it, man.
But life wasn't done testing him. On top of the physical challenges, Flex had to face the reality of his financial struggles. Looking back, one of his biggest regrets was not starting his own business when he was at his peak, like many other bodybuilders did. He had relied on being paid by companies, giving them what they wanted, only to be left out behind when they no longer needed him. It took a long time for Flex to realize that he had the power to build his own future. Now he has taken control of his destiny, starting his own business and becoming a successful body transformation coach. He has even launched his own line of supplements. Nearly 30 years after winning his first Arnold Classic title, Flex received the Arnold Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself honored Flex on his incredible impact on the sport of bodybuilding.
God truly built me to last. I don't want any of you guys to feel sorry for me for anything that I've done or went through or going through or will go through. Everything that I've done wrong, everything that I've done right, all of it led me to the man that I am, and I'm thankful for all of it.
I always considered you one of the greatest champions of all time. Thank you very much for your great service. Thank you, Flex.
Today, Flex is living with stage 3 kidney failure. His doctors have warned him that he is at risk of not only losing his leg, but possibly his arms as well.
I might risk of losing both my other legs and both my arms.
Yet, through all of this, Flex finally found peace. He's living with his family now, his 5 children and 5 grandchildren. He realized that he wasn't defined by his cars or his once perfect physique. True peace, he discovered, lay far beyond all of that.
Now I accept myself. I'm not valued by my car. I'm not valued by the girl I'm married to. I'm valued based on a value that I feel I am to myself.
To this day, whenever a new athlete shows off an aesthetic physique, people are quick to compare him to Flex. We hear it all the time, the new Flex Wheeler, the new Flex Wheeler. But we all know that the truth is that there will ever only be one original Flex Wheeler, and his name is Kenny. No matter what comes next, he will forever stand alongside the likes of Arnold, Ronnie, and the other legends as one of the greatest of all time.
Whatever era you're born in, your name will always be mentioned.
Everyone talks about the body of Flex Wheeler.
I think Flex is the best bodybuilder to never win an Olympia title, to be honest with you guys.
The greatest picture ever taken in bodybuilding. I don't think there's a better picture than this in bodybuilding. I don't think there is. I think this is by far the greatest picture taken in bodybuilding.
Your physique is probably the prettiest and most complete body that ever graced the stage.
The respect that I get from my peers and just fans of saying that means way more than having an Olympia trophy.
If you were to tell your younger self something, what would it be?
I would tell myself is to love yourself. I wish I could just go back and tell that kid, just, man, enjoy yourself. Now look what you're doing, love yourself. You deserve to be here, but I feel more perfect now than I ever have before. I've never been comfortable in my skin. I've been more of Flex than I have Kenny. But the truth is, nobody knows Kenny Wheeler. I don't know when my time is up, but I know it's a lot closer based on the things that I'm going through. I'm just thankful, that I'm still here. We lost so many people, especially in the bodybuilding community.
In the end, it's that spirit, that soul, and the men he became through every battle in his life that will make him truly unforgettable.
You gotta be in the movie, man. That's gotta be a storyful movie.
Yeah. Look at him today. He's 63 years old. Look at his face, like a little boy.
So, yeah.
Well, you're loved by so many people, my friend.
You are loved by everybody in your world.
We love you. Even though I can't stand your ass, I love you, brother. And thank you.
Very happy of what I've achieved. When I'm dead and gone, what I've done or Flex would have done to live on, that's something to be very proud of.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like because it really helps out a lot. This was Gym Nation. Till next time, peace.